Really envy the situation you're in. My mother told me that anybody that's very good at making excuses is rarely good at doing anything else. So I'm not going to use this as an excuse, but I will tell you a reason. I had a brother pass away, and my wife and I took 3 of his children. And at the time we had 3 of our own, and then of course one thereafter. So we had a lot of children. The oldest was 5. In fact, we had 8, and we lost one little girl. She passed away on us. So we had actually 8. There were 10 of us, and I was about your age. So I had an uphill battle, and I couldn't pull it off. Another reason that I really envy you is that you are in one of the greatest institutions in this world. Not just every Joe Blow can get into BYU. They're pretty fussy who they take. And not only that, other than your parents, there's nobody in the world that wants you to succeed more than the professors and the teachers at this institution. They really want to see you succeed. Some of these people have given up careers in the private industry where they made a whole lot more money than they're making here just because they want to help you succeed at what you're trying to do. Now, I've been blessed to be able to be successful in this life, not because I'm so smart, but because I have wonderful employees. Well, first of all, I married the right gal. Best thing that ever happened to me. I married the right person, but the second thing is I have wonderful employees. If any of you are deciding to go into business sometime in your life, I would exhort you to find good, trusting, hardworking employees, because they'll put you on their back and carry you up the mountain every morning, and they'll bring you back safe every night. They're going to be the greatest asset you had. The bricks and mortars won't matter. The machines won't matter. The patents won't matter. The employees will be the most important asset that you will ever have. Now, I'm going to also encourage you to try and get into some type of business throughout your lifetime. I was on a horseback riding experience with a doctor friend of mine who were back up behind Mount Nepo, and it's about a 12-hour ride. It's a long ways, and if you're not riding an Arabian or a really good long-distance horse with a lot of stamina, you're going to be walking that horse out. And I turned to him and I said, "Doc, if you fall off this horse today, what happens to you? Let's say you're laid up for 6 or 8 months and you can't work." And he looked at me and was shocked. He said, "Wow, if I got laid up for 6 or 8 months, I'd go broke." And I said, "Exactly. And do you know why you would go broke? It's because all that you earn with your 2 hands. Me, on the other hand, I can fall off this horse and be laid up for 6 years. And my income will continue to go on because I have these wonderful employees that make money for me while I sleep." So I had to challenge him to find something where he could make money while he slept. Now, every time we see each other, and it's 2 or 3 or 4 times a year, he always says, "Man, that was the greatest horse ride I ever took. Thank you very much." He went out and started getting involved in some real estate and took what meager money that he had at the time, investing it in St. George, which, as you know, is the fastest growing county area in the state. And the guy today is a multimillionaire. In fact, he just started a bank about a year and a half ago. Started his own bank. This is a dentist that would continue to be a dentist and worry about whether or not he fell off a horse for the rest of his life. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is to someday get in a situation where you can make money when you sleep. Now, I've always talked about my father, who had a 3rd grade education, was the smartest guy, the wisest guy I ever met. Now, I've been one-on-one with the entire First Presidency and their executive secretary. I've been one-on-one with several of the other apostles. I've been one-on-one with George Bush. I know he's not doing a real good job right now. But I've been a one-on-one with Vice President Cheney. I've been a one-on-one with the governor. Not one of these people has made as much of an impact on me as my own 3rd grade educated father. He didn't have a great education, but he had great wisdom. He had great knowledge. And so one day we were hauling corn up one road and down the other, and he said to me, "Son, when you get in your own business, I want you to do this." And I said, "Dad, I don't want to be in my own business." And he said, I was about 16, and he said, "Son, you'll never get rich by punching a time card and working for the other guy. And I said, Dad, I don't want to be rich. He said, now we really need to talk. Now we need to have a serious father-son conversation. You will be a greater asset to your family, a greater asset to your church, and a greater asset to your community and the state if you will go out and provide opportunities for other people to provide for their families. It will bless you for the rest of your life. And some of the things my dad told me were always farm-related. You know, it's like one day he said, when you get in your own business, son, we were hunting. It was cold. We're sitting around a campfire. I want you to treat your employees like this campfire. I was a little confused, and I said, what are you talking about, Dad? He said, never get so close that you burn yourself, but never get so far away you freeze to death. Be very careful how you treat your employees, because you can get too close. I have gotten too close before, and I've gotten burned, and I've been too far away, and I've almost frozen to death. You have to find that happy medium where you can work with your employees without getting too close or getting too far away. I got to tell you one more experience about my father. I was 17, and I thought, wow, I've arrived. I'm 17, I've got my driver's license, I'm going to be out of school here in another year. I'm my own man, and I just need to find a way to prove it to my dad that I've arrived. So we worked in the field all day, and it was getting dark. And by the way, we'd go to the fields early in the morning, and I'd take a 2-quart jar of water with me and hide it in the ditch bank to keep it cool. And that's all I had all day until lunch. We'd have lunch. I'd take another 2-quart jar with me. I was tired. I was dusty. And we were walking toward the house, out of the fields, and Dad said, oh, wow, I forgot to pull the head gate. How many of you know what a head gate is? Good for me, people. Thank you. A head gate you put in the irrigation ditch to stop the water, to force it to flow out on your fields. And we'd left the head gate in for the last time we irrigated. And so the people ahead of us were going to water, and they have what they call wastewater that gets out around their head gate, goes down. He said, I'm afraid that wastewater will catch our head gate, get out of the field, and we wanted to harvest that field in 2 days. We can't afford to get that wet. So would you go up and pull the head gate? I'm 17, and I'd never, ever spoken back to my father, and I was going to make my point. There's a half mile up there and back. And so I said, what'd you say, Dad? He said, son, would you go up and pull the head gate? And I came up with this little gem. I said, you know, Dad, I can see your lips moving, but I can't hear a word you're saying. I'll tell you, I thought all heck was going to break loose. But my dad, in his wisdom, knew when to strike. He waited. I thought, okay, when I get back out of the fields, I'm going to catch it. Not a word. Okay, I'm going to get it tomorrow. Not a word. All right, sometime next week. Not a word. Almost 4 months later, I go into my dad. Chores are done. Cow's milked. He's sitting in his big easy chair reading the day's paper, and I said, Dad, the junior prom's coming up, and I'd like dibs on the car. And he lowered the paper and said, what'd you say? I said, Dad, the junior prom's coming up. I'd like dibs on the car. That's funny. I can see your lips moving, but I can't hear a word you're saying. I walked to the junior prom. I walked to the junior prom. So you just got to know when to make your point, because you know what? I've never forgotten that. My dad didn't say a whole lot, but I listened when he talked. So how many have ever seen the ladder before? Okay, great, wonderful. They've asked me to come and demonstrate it. Let me just tell you, I was selling insurance for life insurance for beneficial life because I had never been able to never gone to get my degree, and I had to find a way to make money to raise 7 children. And they sent me to Europe, where they had a beneficial life insurance company, where they had they had an area that was really suffering, okay? And so they sent me over there because I was the top salesman in the agency that I was in. This agency was suffering. So I went over, and 18 months later, it was the agency of the year, and they sent me back to speak in Salt Lake City. And Doug Smith, who's now 70, his wife was Barbara Smith, who was Relief Society president, put his arm around me, and he's a big guy. I've always been a little guy. And he said, From on the shoulders of young men like Hal Wing, we're going to build a future of beneficial life. Well, what I hadn't told him is I'd already seen this ladder. A German fellow had come up with this ladder, and when I saw it, I really got excited about it. His strength, he was from the Stuttgart area, Swabian, his strength was creativity, coming up with a new idea. My strength was making it better and marketing it. When I first saw this ladder, I went, wow. So I came back to the United States, I quit my job, and I was making the equivalent of about $240,000, $250,000 a year, today's money. I was making good money at the time. And I told my wife, I'm going to quit my job. She said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to start a ladder company. She looked at me, she said, honey, how much will you have to live on? And I said, in today's dollars back then, between $8,000 and $8,500. She goes, honey, there are 9 of us. I said, I understand that, but we're going to have to make these things happen. I became a really, really good salesman. Sold my dirt bikes, sold my boat, sold my house, sold all the things that they had to get rid of to start the business. But anyway, I went out and tried to sell a ladder, and I went to a trade show, and have you ever noticed that people don't like to talk to salesmen? They don't. You know, it's, no, sorry, not interested. And they would walk by and I'd say, can I show you my ladder? No, just that and the other. So I went home after the second day, and I put on my German lederhosen. Now, I've been speaking German for 48 years, and I had taught myself, excuse me, I've had an operation on my throat when I wrecked my motorcycle. I can't do this as well anymore. But I taught myself how to yodel. So I went back with my lederhosen on, my little alpine hat, my suspenders, and my knee socks, and my knobby knees, and I put up my biggest ladder. I got on the top and went, people stopped and they looked at me like, what in the heck is going on? And I said, now that you've heard the yodeling routine, let me show you the world's greatest ladder. And they were too stunned to move. You know, like a deer in the headlights, stand there. So I demonstrated the ladder to them. And I went home and I told my wife that night. I said, great news. Sold 3 ladders. Bad news. I don't want to be on the top of the ladder yodeling the rest of my life. So I've got to come up with something that stops people, even though they say no. And I spent half the night laying awake, worrying and considering, what do I ask? This is what I came up with. Sir, ma'am, have you ever seen a Little Giant ladder before? No. They gave me a no, but it was my opening. Well, what you're looking at is a ladder that, controlled by the hinges right here, won't snap closed, it won't snap back on your fingers. There's no shredder bars getting in your way. The hinges are just that easy to use. But if you say you need a different size ladder, all you do is you pull out these strings right here, and you can come up. You've got a different size ladder. I've got the smaller one today because we're on low ceiling here. Okay, put in the locks catch by themselves. Now you have a ladder that's twice its storage height. You got wide flares on the top and bottom, back and front. Won't tip over on you. And if you need to get up next to stairs, wall, or some uneven surface, you can do that by adjusting the ladder like that. You can go back to your hinges and you can flip the ladder open, walk out. You'll notice it has a wide flare top and bottom, which gives you stability you can't get on any other ladder, and you can pull it down. And voila, they catch their own self right here. Come back down. And then you can pull the ladder apart, which I'm not going to do for the sake of time. But I can just grab the ladder, pull it apart, and make 2 separate ladders, which will also allow you to put an ordinary plank between it if you want, and make it into a scaffolding system. And of course you can put the plank at any level you want, so you have different heights. And then there's an accessory to the ladder that it also makes it very nice. We call that the work platform. You can take that. It will fit on any rung where you want to put it. Even here, put it here. Doesn't matter. You can go walk up right through it. You get up above it, you kick it back. Voila. You stand there with your hands free, your arches and ankles aren't killing you. Kick it back through. And you can also, a lot of people buy 2. One for paint and tools and one to stand on. Make it easier. It also works on the extension ladder position. So, what you've actually looked at here, sir, ma'am, is not 1, but 2, 3, different 4 on the one I demonstrate. Step ladders, an extension ladder, a staircase ladder, a scaffolding, and a work platform that you can fold up and place inside the ladder like this, and the whole thing will fit under your arm and the trunk of your car. That's the Little Giant ladder. I'm getting too old for this. But having been able to do that, I gotta have a drink. I gotta get back on the treadmill. It's caffeine-free, promise. I gotta get back on the treadmill. But that little demonstration sold $500,000 worth of ladders in $1960. So, all by myself. And from there, it grew and grew and grew. How did it grow? People would come up to me and they'd say, Brother Wing, are you hiring? And I'm a softie. And I'd say, yes, we're hiring. So I'd hire them, and my wife, who did the books, would say, how are you going to pay for them? We'll do more volume. That's the way we'll pay for them. And so the company continued to grow and continue to grow and continue to grow. Now, what we've always tried to do is take a negative and find out how to make it into a positive. You realize I have never made a mistake in business. Now, let me give you a little caveat here. I've just found out something that wouldn't work. If you make a decision and you go forward with it and you've given it your 100% effort, and you find out that you've gone what you consider the wrong way, do not beat up on yourself. Do not become discouraged. Just chalk it up to experience and say, you know what? I just found out something that will not work. Boom, that's great, because you just narrowed the field. And each time you find those, you eliminate them, you're eliminating it down to what will work and what will work for you. Let me give you an example. As our patents started to run out, we were doing roughly $18 million a year. And as our patents started to run out, every other ladder company in the world has been jumping on it. Werner, Gorilla, Green Bull, you name it. And we decided, okay, what are we going to do? Well, when you go to a store, ladies, and sometimes maybe you gentlemen, I don't think you go in and say, where are your facial tissues? You probably ask, where are the Kleenex? And you probably don't ask where the bleach section is, you ask where the Clorox is. That's because these were the first to pioneer that particular market. What we wanted people to do is to walk into a store and say, not say, where's your multi-purpose articulated do everything ladder? We didn't think that was going to happen. We wanted to go in and say, where's your Little Giant? That's what we wanted. So we did an infomercial to tie and brand as the greatest ladder in the world. We did the infomercial. I came off the plane back from Europe, and they said, you're going to be on TV day after tomorrow. I said, whoa, wait a minute. I don't do TV, okay? I'm short, and I'm ugly, and I'm old. And they said, that's okay, it's just what we're looking for. We've screen tested 10 people, and it's not working. You have a passion for the product, you're going to be on it. So we filmed the infomercial just to brand and brand alone. But I got to tell you something. The first day and a half of filming, at $300 a minute, it was horrible. And I stopped him at lunch the second day, and I said, excuse me, director, producer, film crew, come here, let's talk. Who's paying for this infomercial? They said, you are. I said, great, because you got me saying things about my product I would never say, and you've got me demonstrating my product in manners I'd never demonstrate it. So you can take everything that we've done up today and trash can it. They go, what? I said, you can trash can it. We're starting over. And so we winged it, no pun intended, but we winged it from then on, and that infomercial hit, and people, I'm not kidding you, these call centers were lighting up all over the nation. We were selling sometimes $2 million plus worth of product in a day. We went to almost $200 million from $18 million overnight. We grew 647% in 1 year. And the reason it happened was because it caught us by surprise, I need to tell you. People got so excited about the product, they're calling up and ordering it. And we were scrambling like crazy to deliver product. And that's been the success story. Now we're slowly moving toward the big boxes and the main marketing stream. We're not doing as much volume, but we're making more money. It's an expensive proposition to sell a product off of television. Okay, enough of that. I just wanted to give you kind of a background that happened. But, you know, as I look at you people, the opportunity that is here for you here I am, high school education, a little bit of college, and not that great a talent, and God has blessed me to the point that I have been able to provide employment for 200 to 300 people and have a multi-million worldwide, 18-country, 19-country business. Just think of the potential you have. But remember that what you're going to get here is nothing more than a hunting license. That's it. You hang that degree on the wall, and people are not going to be beating a path to your doorway begging you to do things for them. That's just not going to happen. I don't want to be the one to break bad news to you, but that's not going to happen in 99.9% of cases. You're going to have to go out and shake the trees and make things fall out of them. You're going to have to go out and present yourself. And whether you like it or not, every one of you is going to have to be a salesperson, because you have to sell your abilities. You have to sell your talent. You have to sell your personality. These people are going to be sitting across from you deciding whether or not to give you a chance, an opportunity to prove yourself. And you better be ready to tell them, because they've got a lot of people to look at. So, when you get that hunting license, remember to go out there and put your best foot forward. I want to have at least 10 minutes worth of questions, and what I'm going to do is, this is totally unscientific, but whoever asks, in my humble opinion, the best question gets to take one of these ladders home with them. Okay? They sell for right around $450. So whoever asks the best question is going to be able to take one of these ladders home with them. Well, by the way, as the other people start coming out with our product like ours, what do? Well, first of all, it's called Little Giant Solutions, because we solve problems for other companies, and so we're into that and making money there. We've created other products that we've sold the patents off, and that's helped. But what we did, if you see this one that says it's the revolution, one of the problems with a articulated do-everything ladder is they weigh a lot. They weigh an awful lot. So what we've done is we have taken about 30% of the weight out of the regular ladder. We've added rocker lock tabs. We've made a much better hinge out of it. And then for the guy that doesn't know what to do with these wrench, when he's up there hanging up, we put magnets in the... Just little things like that has made this product better than anybody else's product out there. We just have taken a negative situation where other people are copying our product, and of course every one of these have been patentable, so we've increased our longevity of our patents and moved ahead. The metal we're using is the metal that's used on the leading edge of F-16 and F-14s. It's aluminum, but it's not really aluminum. I don't know how to explain it. But you know what was cool is we used to be number 38 out of 38 ladder companies. Now we're number 2 in the nation, and we were number 1 in profitability last year. The people that make this metal came to us because of the branding we did. We had the number 1 recognized ladder name in America, so they came to us and said, hey, we want to get into the commercial market. Okay, we want to get to the private citizen. If we allow you to use our metal, we'll give you exclusivity on it. Will you make ladders out of it? Hello, yes we will. And will we? And gladly. And so right now we have the lightest 17-foot extension, lightest 22-foot extension, lightest of any kind of ladder in those areas in the world, and it's stronger than the metal used before. Now, that having been said, I'm going to leave it more than 17 minutes for questions, and I'd really like to know what's going on in your mind, because my success story, our success story, and Ben's a great employee, by the way. I love him like a son-in-law, but he's a great young man. And all my employees are just fantastic. I've been blessed with the best employees in the state, in the country. But I want to know what's going on in your mind. I want to know what kind of things you're concerned about. And so I'm going to turn this over to answering questions, because you don't need to know any more about Hal Wing than probably I've told you more than you want to hear anyway. I'm kind of like the little boy that went to his father and he asked him a question. And the dad looked at him and said, look, I'm really busy right now, son, go ask your mother. The little boy said, I don't want to know that much about it, Dad. And so, moms tend to overtell what's going on. So, do you have any questions at all? Yes, sir. Oh, by the way, I was born almost deaf. Come here, Ben. The reason Ben's here more than anything is he'll hear you and he'll tell me, and because I can't hardly hear.
I hope I'm not deaf.
I can read lips really well. So that was another obstacle I had to overcome.
Okay, my question is, when you were trying to get the company off the ground, was there ever a time that Dallas was grim, and what gave you the confidence to forge ahead at that time?
Translation. I can see his lips moving.
When you launched the ladder company to begin with, and when it looked grim, what got you to overcome that? What type of confidence? Okay, when I launched the ladder company, when it looked grim, what helped me to overcome that? 8 hungry kids. You know, really, does anybody here want to look their little children in the eye and say, I have nothing to give you to eat? I have nothing to buy for you for Christmas? I can't help you with the birthday. I'm serious. Think about this. These kids adore their parents until they get into the teenage years, and which is absolute proof that which one was going to be? Abraham was going to slay which child? Yeah. And it's absolute proof that he wasn't a teenager because it wouldn't have been a sacrifice. So, anyway, I had to overcome that. Now, let me tell you how I overcame that. You need to be ready in life to make sacrifices, and I'm serious about this, and I think I maybe sacrificed too much at the expense of my family. I spent over 300 days a year for the first 4.5 years sleeping in my car, staying in a motel 1 night a month, washing and cleaning up in the restroom. Try changing your garments and cleaning in a restroom without truckers seeing you, and eating cheese and crackers because those wouldn't go bad on me in the car. I did that for 4.5 years, and I'm going to tell you right now, I learned to appreciate good home cooking. I mean, I'd show up and just drop my laundry off, and the next day my wife had to be done. I'd give the kids a hug and give my wife a kiss, and I was on my way again. It was ugly. I got kicked out of more parking lots than I care to tell you about by police in the middle of the night. They'd say, you can't park here overnight. And I'd go down the road to another Safeway or Albertsons and stay there for another hour or two. But anyway, any other questions? Does that answer your question?
What happened to the German guy who actually came up with this invention?
What happened to the German guy that came up with this invention? Okay, we became, first of all, partners. And I paid him a royalty for his original idea. And then, I love this guy. I really did love him like a brother. But he smoked 50 cigars a day and inhaled them. He went through 25 bottles of German beer and a half a bottle of Chivas Regal. For those of you who do not know, that's whiskey, a day. And drank maybe 8 or 10 cups of black coffee. And at age 46, he said, I've got a little lump right here on my throat. They opened him up, and from here to the soles of his feet, he was full of cancer. So he's since passed away, and I've been, even after his patents ran out, I paid his wife over $2 million in royalties just because I feel bad for him. But we're now selling in Europe. So good question. You in the green shirt.
Did you ever have to raise any capital for your business, or what did you do for that?
Yeah, did I ever have to raise capital? Yes, we did. And capital was tight. It was really, really tight. And so we had an idea at the National Association of Home Builders where you have about 60,000 home builders come. And I had this idea for what's called workhorses, or like sawhorses that do a whole bunch of different things. So we built 2 sets of them as prototypes. Went to the National Association of Home Builders and presented the product. And I sold about $125,000 worth of them. I didn't have any to deliver. Okay, I need to explain that. So I came home and I wrote a form letter to all these people that had bought this product. Now you think back in 1960, that's a lot of money back then. I wrote a letter to all these people saying, look, the product is not yet being produced. It will cost 40% more than what you paid for it. If you want your money back, I will return it. If not, I'll make sure that I get that product to you, which was a real gutsy move. Only 8 people asked for their money back. And so I had someone else's capital to work on because I didn't have an awful lot of credibility with the banks at that time. But that's a good question. I had to come up with the capital, and I had to get creative. Yes, sir?
Speaking about
I'm going to go for translation.
With the employees, what were the best things that you helped keep us motivated?
Okay.
What were some of the worst things?
Thank you. I love my employees, and they know I love them. When I walk into the lunchroom, there's 200 or 300 of them in there, and they break out in applause and whistles. It's not required, but they do. But, you know, I paid my first salesman 4 times what I was paying myself. My wife doing the books, and she goes, how come you're paying Clark more than you're paying yourself? I said, honey, the guy's got 10 kids, and he did. He's got 13 now. I said, you know, he needs the money. She said, well, we got a bunch of kids. We need the money. And I said, yeah, but if this thing works out, in the long run, we're going to be rewarded a lot more than he's going to be rewarded. So we need to do this. We need to make a sacrifice. That was 1. I took care of them. 2, I give them the birthday off with pay. And they get a signed birthday card from me every year. 3, we have 2 company parties a year. 1 is a Christmas party where they bring just their spouse, and we have a nice Christmas message and sing Christmas carols. And then during the summer Hummer, we call it, we have a whole carnival set up for the kids. And they bring their kids, and we have a lot of fun. I know them by name. I know their history. When they come to work for us, the first 3 months, they can wear any shirt they want. Okay? Just any personal shirt you want to wear. So they stick out to me for productivity, safety, and the fact that they're just new here. And so I walk through, and I can spot a new employee that quick. I walk up, I shake their hand, I introduce myself, and I talk to them. And then we have what we call the good idea meetings. Okay? And at good idea meetings, they present their ideas, and to date we've used over 80% of the ideas that come our way. And they're rewarded for that idea. No matter how, if it could range anywhere, there's a terrific range from $25 to $500,000 in a bonus. I've only had to give the $500,000 once, but it was well worth it. And so we look at their ideas, and we appreciate them for who they are, what they are, and I could get my employees for a lot less than I pay for them. But we make sure that we pay them well and take care of them. And the other thing is, we've had like Tiny's got cancer and lost a year of work. Never missed a payday. Never missed a payday. I had a young girl from Idaho that was going to BYU that was working for us, and she got in a horrible accident. She wanted to become a professional model, and they had to rebuild her whole face, and she was off for about 14 months. She never missed a payday. When I die and they close the casket, it's not going to matter how much money I have in the bank, because it's all going to stay right here. And so I don't cut corners on my employees. 2 years ago that we took $1.25 million just before Thanksgiving. $3 million, and I give them a good Christmas bonus, by the way. But this year I took $1.25 million. We had a really good year in cash, and I got up on a ladder because I'm short, so I could look across the people. I said, "Okay, we're going to consider your employment time, the importance of your job, how well you do your job, your attitude, and all those wonderful things that go on with an employee, and we're going to divide all this money up between you." You should have heard the yells and the screams and the hurrahs. The least one got $2,230. He'd been with me for 3 months and was sweeping floors. And so these guys were excited. You're surprised how many people broke down in tears because they didn't know how they were going to get through Christmas, because life's tough. Any other? Yes, sir. I'll catch you in a second. What was that? Yeah, as a matter of fact, we hire a lot of BYU students and through the summer, and he can tell you who to contact. We may do. I have a CEO now that handles all of that stuff. But I got to tell you right now, I've hired a lot of athletes. If any are athletes, forgive me for saying this. But the athletes that absolutely work the most fantastic for me, you don't have a wrestling program anymore. Wrestlers. Those kids don't have a great fan base, but they are gutsy. Track and field. Man, these kids know how to put it out. Don't even talk to me about golfers, okay? But I can go right down and tell you the way they work for me is the way they're going to work on the field and on that wrestling mat. And so, anyway, yeah, we do hire and we do a good job. I promised you next. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was wondering more about your employees. how do you reconcile the difference between, friend and business associate?
How do you recognize between a friend and business associate?
How do you personally differentiate and try to be an associate and a friend with the person without giving them the clothes off your back?
Okay, then and that gets real tacky, especially if I have about 16 employees that are relatives. Now, first and foremost, we have a great family benefit program. Work or get fired. And I've fired a son, I've fired a sister, I've fired a brother-in-law, I've fired a son-in-law. I'm not a very nice guy. But, some of them I brought back. I fired a daughter. She wanted to come back. And I said, no. But I called an attorney and I said, give this girl a job and send me the bill every month. But don't tell her I did this. And so I called the first month. He said, I can't bill you. I said, why? He said, she's a great employee. But for me, she wasn't. She figured she could ride on the Wing name. By the way, I went home at lunch that day, and she was home trying her heart out. And I put my arm around her, and I said, sweetheart, this has nothing to do whether I love you or not. But you're a lousy employee. I know, Daddy, I know. And she was. When she came back after 18 months, she was the best I ever had at being my receptionist. So what I have to do is, we'll take off, 6 or 8 or how many of us with our Harleys, and take off for a day ride. I'll grab a bunch of them, we'll go golfing. But it doesn't matter. It's across the board from manufacturing to sales to marketing to secretarial pool. It doesn't matter. We don't act like anybody's worth any more than anybody else. Does that answer your question at all? What's that?
Can I interject on that one?
Yeah.
On that, I think the most important thing is that the employee understands who the employer is and that you don't cross that line. Because as soon as you cross that line and you think you can be buddies all the time with them, I mean, Hal and I are still friends, but I still have that respect for him. But once you cross that, I think that's when it doesn't work out.
We had one that was here at the Y. And the Y decided they didn't want him anymore. Now, the Y doesn't let anybody go, okay? You can grow old here. But, I hired him. He lives in my ward. I love the guy. I still love the guy. But he got downright acid with me one night and just came on me and over nothing. It doesn't work anymore. There's so much you can take and so much you can't. There's a young lady in the back. There's a young man with the young lady.
How important has your wife been in this process besides keeping books? How important has your wife been?
How important has my wife been?
In this process, but besides keeping books?
My wife is the best thing that ever happened. Everything good in this life that I have came from my wife. Literally. I baptized her into the church. She's the mother of my children. She's been on 3 missions with me. She has been to work, and for 20 years, we were with each other 24 hours a day after I got off the road of being on the road so much. She supported me now, she said somebody asked her once, how can you and Hal get along 24 hours a day the way you do? How do you do that? And she said, here's the deal. I give him my opinion. And when he puts it in with all this other information that comes his way and makes his decision, even if he's dead wrong, I get behind him and push. I support him. I've never been wrong, but that's not true either. Sir, your arm's going white from staying in the air. What's going on?
If you have a dream that nobody else believes in, how do you bring it to pass?
If you have a dream that nobody else believes in, how do you come to pass? How do you make it come to pass? I'm going to read you real quick, and then I'm through. A list that was on my mother's refrigerator back in the 50s when I was like 14 years of age. This is the map that I followed. First, don't get the idea that you are Atlas carrying the world on your shoulders. The world would go on even without you. Don't take yourself too seriously. Second, tell yourself that you like your work, then it will become a pleasure, not drudgery. Perhaps you do not need to change your job. Just change yourself, and your work will seem different. Third, plan your work your plan. Lack of system will produce that I'm swamped feeling. Fourth, don't try to do everything at once. That is why time is spread out. Operate on that wise advice from the Bible. This one thing I do. By the way, do it well. Many times people have time to go back and do it over again. They don't have time to do it right the first time. Fifth, Get a correct mental attitude. Remember that ease or difficulty in your work depends on how you think about it. Think it is hard, and you will make it hard. Think it is easy, and it tends to become so. 6, become thoroughly proficient in anything you do. Knowledge is power over your job. It's always easier to do a thing right. 7th, practice being relaxed. Easy does it. Don't press or strain, and that's important. 8, discipline yourself not to put off until tomorrow what you can do today. Accumulation makes the job harder than it should be. Don't drag yesterday's burdens along with you. Keep your work up to schedule. 9th, love this. At the start of every day, pray about your work. You will get some of your best ideas that way. And this one I really like. Take on the unseen partner. It is surprising the load he will take off you. God is as much at home with you at work as he is in church. He knows more about your business than you do. His help will make your job easier. That is how you make your dream come true. Thank you so much. You've been very attentive and great questions. You get the ladder.